Overthinking is costing you a great deal. It's costing you success, it's costing you joy, it's costing you your peace. And in today's episode, you're going to not only have more insight of what overthinking really is, but if you are doing it, you're going to want to stop doing it because I'm going to also give you practical tips of how you can implement all of this for yourself. Welcome to the Dope Life Podcast. Now, I want to start off by saying that you being an overthinker is not 100% your fault. It is rooted in your DNA. Chances are you may have quite a few people around you that have added to you being an overthinker, whether they have done it around you so you've adapted it, or they have judged you in a way where you start doing it. Either or, it's it's almost like they're both negative energy that we don't need to no longer subscribe to. Overthinking is costing you so much in the life that we have. And I know personally from dealing with overthinking, it's also linked to people pleasing and it's also linked to just trying to make everyone happy while we're sitting here miserable beyond words. So today I'm going to be giving you some practical tips of how you can release overthinking over time, but I also want to preface by saying it's not just going to happen overnight. It does take daily practice. Remember, we are in a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to our self-improvement and healing and taking care of ourselves mentally. So let's waste no time and let's get right into it. All right. Have you ever found yourself replaying the same situation over and over and over in your head, saying the what ifs, how can I, and is this even possible? You're analyzing every word, every situation, every move that you could quite possibly make, but in the end, you still do nothing because you're overthinking the entire process. Yeah, I've been there before. And one of the things I found about overthinking is how I've seen it, how I've witnessed it, how other people around me have embedded it also in my own DNA. But here's the cool thing about life. Even though you've learned habits and possibly have adapted them, you could also unlearn them, especially if they no longer serve you. And overthinking is one of them that does not serve you. Sometimes we just say like, yeah, I'm an overthinker. It is who I am. But the truth is overthinking isn't harmless. It's actually far more expensive than we can ever make it. It could cost us our time, our peace, our energy, and opportunities. And the time that we actually get a sense to look back at it, we realize, wow, I've really not necessarily wasted all that, but I could have done a lot more with all of that. So for a moment, write it down or put it in your notepad perhaps. I want you to think of something that you've been overthinking for the last maybe days, weeks, months, year, or years, but you've been afraid to take action on it. You're going to need this by the end of the episode because I'm going to give you tips of how you can start taking action on it today. There is a hidden price to overthinking, and oftentimes we forget about it. Again, like I said, it costs us our peace, and peace is too expensive. It costs us our joy. And again, joy is also too expensive as well. And it also costs us our opportunities. And I don't just mean on a business standpoint, I mean even just on a personal standpoint. Remember, we're here to not only just serve, but we're here to experience. So maybe there's been something you've overthink that someone's come to you and say, hey, I would love for you to be a part of X, Y, and Z. But then you said, I don't even think internally, I don't think that I can do this. I don't think that I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can do this. Oftentimes, overthinking is disguised as fear. It's disguised as failure, rejection, or being wrong. But could I tell you, in the midst of fear, in the midst of failure, rejection, and being wrong, is opportunity. We sometimes forget how opportunity could be laying over a bunch of dust. And the moment that we're willing to do the work to move away all that dust, we can see the opportunity that's lying there. If you change your angle sometimes in life, even though something is happening to you, if you change your angle, you see the opportunity that lies behind it. But overthinking could shadow over that like you wouldn't believe. It's like, for example, if you're in one part of the city, all of a sudden it's dark and it's cloudy. But if you go around another part of the city, it's sunny, and we're like, what's going on here? That's overthinking in a nutshell. And sometimes one part, if we're not paying attention to it, could be completely cloudy and dark. But if we were to just move and look from another opportunity, another angle, we'll see the opportunity that's lying right there. But by the end of this episode, I want to say, I'm going to get you away from the clouds and get you back into the sunshine. All right. So I want you to kind of just take a step back. We overanalyze a lot of things. And there's probably some things in your life that you've overanalyzed time and time and time again. But I want you to remember this one right here. All right. The less that you actually make an action, the less you trust yourself. The more that you take the action, the more you learn to trust yourself. Where lies your confidence? That's how you build it over time, through actually trusting yourself, your authentic self. We talk about self love and self like, but the truth of the matter is that work is so internal. It starts with you removing things like overthinking and replacing it with simply just trusting who you are. Oftentimes, we don't even really pay attention to how overthinking is affecting us even mentally. It could cause us burnout, add to our stress, add to our anxiety. It could also add to missed chances and missed opportunities. So how can you uncover overthinking when you're starting to build the trust within yourself? Here are 3 tips how you could do it. Write this down, all right? Step 1, start auditing your energy. Write down what you overthink the most. People, goals, things. 2, I want you to start asking yourself this one question. Has overthinking changed anything? What has it cost me? And lastly, how can you start taking one action in the thing that is you're talking yourself out of overthinking, which is the goals, your people, environments, and how can you introduce more clarity? You don't got to do it right now, but it's something you can do after, a little bit of homework you can do after this episode. Now, kind of like how I mentioned before, I don't want you to fully blame yourself when it comes to overthinking. It is rooted in your DNA. It's something that you've been dealing with for a very long time. And to be fair, you've probably seen it generation after generation. I know I have. But in the midst of all of that, you've still seen people take leaps, take risks. So I want you to think about what overthinking can mean to some people. It can mean a sense of survival. It can mean a sense of self-awareness and safety. Got to understand, the way we live now was not how it was 10, 15, maybe even 20 to 30 years ago. Everybody was kind of like on their tippy toes to some degree, especially if you're a person of color. Unfortunately, we're kind of sort of back in that environment all over again. It hasn't fully left, but it's far more different than what it was before. I want you to take a step back to generations and maybe the beforehand that you've seen adapt a lot of overthinking. What is one word that probably could attach to that and define what it is also? Control. The need to control everything, to predict everything. But can I tell you something? You can't predict everything when it comes towards your life. There's no way. It's tied to perfectionism. It's tied to people pleasing. It's tied to even past criticism. People pleasing didn't just start with you receiving it or seeing it aligned with DNA with people of generation before you. It's been going on for decades upon decades. But here's the cool part. It stops with you in this decade. If you've been judged before or if you've seen others been judged before, it could second guess from you actually taking the steps that you know that you can take. You start questioning, like, can I even do this? Is this possible? Versus telling yourself, I can do this. And this is possible. Now, a few ways that you can work through that. Notice what triggers your overthinking, whether it's the text, whether it's the tone, whether it's a deadline, or even just uncertainty. Start taking a step back and look into what triggers your overthinking. And the second step you can take is shift your inner dialogue. Instead of saying, like, what if I mess up? Start taking a step back, breathe, and say, yo, what if this actually works out? Start looking for curiosity, then looking for the doom. We're going to get into how overthinking is costing you your success. Now, not just in perhaps an entrepreneurial setting. I mean, every part of your life, how it's costing you success. You overthinking delays your purpose. That word, purpose, purpose, purpose. Everybody tries to go after it, but it takes a lot of cleaning up, just like something like overthinking, for you to actually get to know what your purpose is. But I just also want to add in here when we're talking about purpose, your purpose is just for you to simply exist. You finding out the things that make you smile, make you feel light, and brings peace and joy into your life. That is your purpose, by the way. But that's enough of that. Let's get back into overthinking. By you being an overthinker, you're leading to perfection 95% of the time, maybe even 99% of the time. And where does that leave us all the time? Overpressured, annoyed, aggravated, but not so much of the situation, at ourselves. Why do we want to give ourselves that type of energy? Why do we want to give ourselves that negative type of energy? You can't start anything from perfection. Perfection does not exist. Instead of you worrying about just leveling up all the time, sometimes your thought process of what perfection is you thinking that you have to do it perfect like everybody else. But what if you're supposed to be doing it completely differently? Especially when it comes down to social media. Sometimes we look at other people's stuff and we think, that's how they're doing it, so I gotta do it the same way. Going back to authenticity, you got to do it the way that you got to do it that works for you. So if you're ever having a tough time making a decision and your mind automatically wanders into overthinking, here's a very practical tip that I use to help me get through it. Set a decision timer. Give yourself 10 minutes to decide small things. Give yourself about 24 hours to decide the big things. I do this even within my business. I'll tell people, yeah, I'll get back to you by the end of tomorrow. Is that cool? Most of the time, people are like, yeah, absolutely. If it's a small thing, I take a step back. I think about it. Sometimes I may consult with people just to see, like, hey, do you think it's the right fit? And I do that within a 10 to 15-minute time. You don't have to use the same amount of time. You could adjust it however works for you. But give yourself a decision timer. This will remove the time, the space for you to overthink anything, and it gets you straight to the action. Remember, action over perfection. Focusing on finishing the task that you're working on or finishing the opportunity that's in front of you and not perfecting it. Let's talk about shifting your overthinking process to trusting your thinking process. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's movement despite it. More than people tell me all the time. I'm constantly being told all the time, you seem like you're so confident. And when I tell them I wasn't always like this, they don't believe me in any way, shape, or form. But I wasn't always like this. I really wasn't. But what changed, what made the big shift was me taking practical steps and making movement, not sitting in the what ifs and thinking that I'm not good enough. Take this, for example, me being on screen, I once thought that no one would want to see me. And that turned out to be a complete lie. Because here you are sitting watching me getting tips on how you could stop overthinking. Who would have thought? The old version of me, maybe 10, 15 years ago, would have said, you're absolutely bonkers if you think that's going to be me in the future. But here we are, how many years later? I'm still doing the thing. And before you even ask me, how did I build the confidence I have now? With small, consistent steps. If you've been rocking with me in a long time, I've always said 1% a day is a great way that you could build mighty success. But yo, give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, be practical with the things you're doing, and take one step a day. Just 1%. That's all you got to do. And you'll see over time how your confidence will build so naturally and so organically. Remember, I asked you at the beginning to write down one goal or one thing that you've been wanting to work on, but you've been talking yourself out of it for maybe days, weeks, months, and years. Every time you delay that thing, you're telling your brain that, yo, I can't trust you. This is the whole point of releasing overthinking, to start trusting yourself even more. And by trusting yourself even more, you start to love and like, and you build confidence over time. Now, these next two steps that I want you to start implementing in here, this lovely brain that we have, is that action and self-trust is the cure of overthinking. You ever find yourself when you're overthinking that it's in a moment of silence and then your brain just runs like a hamster wheel? The fastest way to silence the overthinking is through self-trust and taking the actionable step. So if here's overthinking here, I want you to do the complete opposite. That's what you do to cure it. So it's telling you, no, I shouldn't do it. Do it. No, I shouldn't give it a try. Write the email. No, I shouldn't apply for that job. Apply for it. I've applied for jobs, conferences, speaking engagements, and I've got the thank yous, unfortunately, we don't, da, da, da. And then in the end, there's that one, hey, would love to invite you to blah, 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 blah. Take the leap of faith. Overthinking's telling you that you're not capable. Get to the side where it's telling you that you are capable. Now, you remember that thing you wrote at the beginning of this episode that you've been wanting to work on, but you've been hesitant? I want you to take a step by trying to work on it and making 1% of a step every day for 30 days. Heck, try for 1 week if you want to. Now, while you're doing that, I want you to write out the steps you're taking and how you're learning to love and trust yourself more, and how overthinking is no longer having the power of you anymore. And what do you believe in yourself to be true? These are ways that you're going to shift and reframe your mind from overthinking. And I want you to also write down this affirmation at the top of your journal every day for 7 or 30 days, whatever you feel comfortable with. I don't need to know the whole plan. I just need to take the first step. Again, y'all, it's not about taking these massive leaps all the time. I want you to think of a set of steps. When I was a kid, I used to try my best to skip a step. Now at 37, I ain't doing none of that. But it's about taking one step at a time. You don't need to take these massive mounts of leaps. Just give yourself grace and take one step at a time. Now remember, overthinking could cost your peace, your progress, your confidence, but awareness and action helps you rebuild trust and confidence over time. Hope you don't feel overwhelmed by this episode. Take your time, step by step. Come back and watch it and look at the next step that you need to take. Remember, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. We're here for the long haul. Just take one step out of all the steps I've given you, whether it's just the very first one, and commit to that for 24 hours. Take the small steps. Take the steps you need, because that builds momentum over time. You're just ready to make a move because that's all you need. You just need to make a move. All right? All right. I'll see y'all next week. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. And as always, you know what to do. Walk with peace, walk with love.